Listen to this episode if you have an established brand and you're making good, consistent sales, but you just don't know how to know what to do in order to scale from here. Whether you have $8,000 a month, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 a month, today's episode will be very helpful for you. We're talking about how to scale your sales, how to identify what to do next, and how do we choose what to prioritize in our growth journey. I'm really excited to dive into this today. It was actually submitted by one of my past clients that I worked with years ago. It was submitted by Kate. She was a past PTP gal. She came to me making like $3,000 to $5,000 a year. And we basically worked through, gave her a foundational action plan, got her to a really solid point with her branding, with her marketing, with her sales process. And now she's right around $20,000 on average monthly is what's going on. The context that she gave is she said, I feel so incredibly grateful to where my business is, but I know it's made for more. I just have so many ideas and I'm unsure where to go from here. I want to be in homes nationwide, even globally, and in stores. So that's a little bit of the context. I'm really excited to dive into this today. We're going to get into the nitty gritty of what scaling is. Like, how do we actually go about scaling? This episode is going to be for people that are a little bit more at that consistent sales mark. Now, just before we can really dive into it, you have to know what the difference is between starting and scaling. And when we're talking about starting your business, we're talking about not yet really knowing how to market or sell in order to get things to come back consistently for you. So if you are not yet to the point where you know how to bring in a certain amount of sales every single month, you don't know what to post yet, this is not exactly information that is actually going to be helpful for you. You have to first learn kind of the branding, the marketing, and the sales strategy before we can do some of these things. I just want to put that disclaimer out there because you have to know those things in order for this to be helpful for you. Because if what I say in the next three major pieces, if I say the rest of this episode and you go through this thinking this advice is for you, you might take it before it's actually good for you to do, because business growth is not linear. A lot of times what gets you to the 20K mark is not actually going to get you to the 100K month mark, because what that really takes is different strategies in order to get to there. So I just want to start with that. First things first, I just want to take 30 quick seconds to say hello, introduce myself if you're brand new here. My name is Madison Page. I'm a business growth specialist and I help turn small businesses into brands. I help you get into stores, get to a global brand, really reach that potential of the brand that you have from a strategic lens. I'm so excited that you're here. A crazy statistic that I heard this week is only 30% of you that listen to this podcast actively are actually following the podcast, which means you're going in and you have to search for it and hunt for this podcast every time you go and listen to it. If that is you, just go out there, subscribe to the podcast, follow us along so you're notified every time that we post a new episode every Tuesday and Friday. It helps you, it helps me, and it helps other people get this podcast into their hands as well. Without further ado, let's jump on in to the three major ways that you can scale your business. So when we look at Kate's business, now, of course, I know Kate's business a little bit more closely because I've worked with her very directly in her business and PTP at a one-on-one capacity. So I know her business, but today I want to talk at a little bit more of a broad capacity so it can help more people there. And then of course, at the end, I'm going to give my reason as to why Kate's business should do what I recommend her doing. The three major ways you can scale. And I understand that this can be hard because you get to a certain point in business and you're like, okay, I could go wholesale. I could go influencer marketing. Do I just need to grow my audience? Should I expand to this product line? I really like this idea. I really like that idea. But what is actually the best option to get you to where you're trying to go? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Is there's really only three major avenues that you can take in order to scale your sales. Now, within these three, there's dozens of different routes, but there's really only three ways to scale your sales. First things first is optimizing the eyes that you have in order to convert better. This means that you probably have, 30,000 followers, 50,000 followers. You might have 5,000 people going to your website every month. You might have 50,000 people going to your website every month, and your overall conversion rate might be 1%, 2%, 3% or lower. And what we are trying to do is we are going to try to optimize your marketing and your sales process, actually convert more of the people that are already showing signs of being interested, yet they just haven't bought yet. So we all have people that are looking at buying from you, but yet you're actually losing them. And I always like to say your next 20 sales are in your audience. You just aren't putting the proper marketing, messaging, or sales process out there in order to actually convert them. So this is some of the stuff that we can change nearly immediately that we can really start to see a result in very quickly. I have had clients that we try to just optimize the eyes that they already have because I looked at their data and I was able to see these kind of gaps within what is actually going on in their brand. And I was saying, hey, like you have people. It's not that you don't have people looking, they just aren't converting very well. So let's actually improve the way that they're converting. All of these are going to be decided based on being able to analyze your data and go from there. And so if I analyze your data and I say, hey, your conversion rate is really, really low. You have a really high abandoned cart rate. It seems to me that people are interested. They're just not purchasing. That's going to be number one. That's going to be number one is how can we actually optimize the marketing and the sales process? That is one way that you can scale is actually just optimize the eyes that you already have. The next one is expanding your product lines and sell to your current raving community. Now, this is for people that have an absolutely loving community, but they started with just a couple of products. You might have only started with a couple of products and you have those, like people love those products. You have a hero product. They absolutely adore them. They're purchasing those products. And now in order for you to scale, you can actually diversify your product suite to make people want to buy more products because they love your brand. This takes really strong branding. This takes really strong community building. And then this takes being able for us just to identify what another product suite, another product line is that you could have out there. This could be a product line, just a product in general. But a lot of times these are people that have a really incredible community and they have a product, they've kind of maximized either their market share or they've maximized this community. And now it's time to expand your overall products. A good example of this is like the Mighty Patch, the pimple patch. Do you remember them? I love them. They're the bomb. But when they started, they had one pimple patch. It was like the original pimple patch, the one clear pimple patch. First, they were completely direct to consumer. You could only buy them through their website. You could only buy them through TikTok Shop. You could only buy them online. And then you started to be able to buy them in stores. You started to be able to buy them in Ulta, Sephora, Target, all of these other places. And now in Ulta, Sephora, Target, all of those other places, there's literally 50 different options of what you can buy. You can buy some for your nose. You can buy some for your body, for your whole face. There's like ones with little pokey things in them to actually get deeper for different types of acne. And so what they did is they had one product, they made that one product very, very known, and they actually did the next option. They expanded their audience. So they got into wholesale opportunities, things like that, and then they expanded their product line. But what they could have also done is because they had such a great direct-to-consumer route, they also could have done that product line first as well, and they would have had people buying different options. But that is a really great example of how you can see somebody that started with one product decided to scale at a certain point with actually just scaling the amount of products they had because they had so much market share that they didn't need more market share. They didn't need more people. They just needed to cross-sell the people they already had and better sell to certain people within that audience. The next one was that I already alluded to is expanding your audience. Now, this can be done in a lot of different ways. Like I already said, that can be getting in more wholesale opportunities. That can mean just doing a big audience like surge phase on your social, doing a lot of influencer marketing, maybe ads, things like that. It can just be anywhere that you can do more brand awareness. So this can be influencer marketing, it can be ads, it can be wholesale, it can be just getting in front of new people, but you're still selling those same products. You're just expanding where they can actually buy them. And then last but not least is actually improving your return customer rate. So you might have a product right now that people love. You clearly see that like people are buying it, but they're not actually buying a second, a third, a fourth time. They're not actually buying consistent enough that it just doesn't really make sense why they're not being more consistent. So this can be a subscription model. This can be just actually improving your overall customer experience to help them actually return. Some of the most profitable ways to actually grow your business is to just improve your return customer rate, because they've already bought from you once. Now that just means that there's something in the actual buying process that they didn't get that they actually need to buy again and again and again. And that is something that we can absolutely help from there. So the four major ways that you can scale are either optimizing the eyes you already have, expanding your product lines and selling to the community that you've built, expanding your audience and selling the current products that you have in a big way, or improving your return customer rate and actually getting people to buy either more often or more frequently, whichever that might be. So you're either optimizing your sales process, you're doing product line expansion, audience expansion, or return customer rate improvement. Those are the four major ways that you scale. Whether I am working with a business owner that has $1 million in sales a year, 5 million, $50,000, $20,000 a month, whatever that is, I'm looking at these four options and I am trying to go and choose which one makes the most sense. Now, how do you do that is I have to look at your data. How I can tell which of these options actually makes sense for you is looking at your data and being able to look at certain kind of key factors to see, oh, you've already optimized the audience that you have, or you have not optimized the audience that you have, or looking at it saying, oh, wow, like people really only buy from you once. Why are they not return customer? Like, why aren't they buying again? Or I can say, hey, you have major gaps within your website. We can change that and make some quick kind of adjustments here. And some of these are going to be quicker than others. Audience expansion is hard and timely, and product line expansion is timely, and it can be expensive, and it can be, you need development. So it can take some more time than optimizing the eyes you already have or improving your return customer rate. Doesn't actually have to be something that is overly labor intensive. Those are kind of those more tweaks and adjustments, whereas the expanding your audience and the product lines are big, major changes. So how do we really choose which one makes the most sense? And again, this is going to be different for absolutely everybody. I have some clients that come to me and I say, hey, your products are incredible. Your audience absolutely loves them. Your return customer rate is really, really, really high, which tells me you need to expand your audience. Your audience is absolutely maximized. We need to expand your audience in order to get from there. And I also have some people that say, hey, you have like 3 products. Why don't we introduce this other product? And it'll actually allow for people to buy from you more often. It'll allow for people to buy from you for a longer period of time. And you'll be able to increase your sales right away because you actually already have this community here. So first things first of what we have to look at is actually doing a full data kind of audit of your business. I love numbers. If you know me, I'm a big numbers gal. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to data. My clients come to me and they're like, hey, Maddie, what should I do? My first question is well, what does the data say? Where are people falling off? How many X, Y, and Z different statistic can we really look at, and can we see what would actually make the most amount of sense? So when it comes to how do I know what to prioritize, a lot of times that comes from a lack of knowledge of actually data and being able to look at numbers and say, oh, this is what that means. This is how we move forward from here. This is what that actually means from there. Another major piece of understanding what are you going to prioritize actually depends on where you're trying to go and what your goals are. And so if your goal is to be like a global, nationally recognized brand in stores everywhere, in Target, in Anthropologie, Urban Outfitters, whatever it might be, if those are your goals, then we have to start chasing those goals now. We have to start building your business to get there. Because I have some clients that like, no, I want to sell direct to consumer forever. And my goal is to build to a certain like amount of sales and then sell my business. But I don't really want to be in stores everywhere. I want to be very direct to consumer. Awesome. Love that. But those two models are going to take different growth models and are going to take different KPIs, key performance indicators, in order to say, oh, okay, hey, it's time to go into stores. Hey, it's time that we can actually sell your brand and make X amount of dollars. And so first things first is we have to look at your data. What makes the most sense based on your data? Where can we actually see gaps? Do you not have enough new customers buying? Do you have a ton of customers buying, but they're not actually buying a second time? Do you just honestly are not having, for the amount of eyes that you have, just not having the amount of people buy that they actually should? Where are your gaps? I'm looking at key performance indicators and major kind of metrics within your data to see which one of these makes sense for you. We're looking at your average order value. We're looking at your return customer rate. I'm looking at Your abandoned cart rate, your conversion rate, and a couple of other metrics are really where I start to look. Then I want to look at your goals. What is your vision? This is why, for me, I can't just give a blanket statement of exactly how to scale your sales. I can't. And anybody that says, oh, just get a bigger audience and your sales will scale, that is not the case. That does not mean that you're actually optimizing. Like, that is not good advice, because business is nuanced based on what your goals and your vision are. But you have to adapt your strategy based on what your vision is. If your vision is being an e-com D2C brand, it's going to look very different than if your vision is walking into Target and seeing your brand there. We have to do two very different things at that point, and it's going to take different strategies in order to get there. So I need to look at your data, look at your vision, look at your goals of your brand, and then act accordingly and start creating an action plan. And you can choose one or two of these. You can choose kind of a tiered approach at these, kind of like the Mighty Patch example. And I don't think that's the actual name of the brand. I feel like it's like Hero Patch or something like that. But like I said to them, they first had one product, and then they took the expand your audience route, and they made a major audience expansion of getting into a bunch of wholesalers. They're in pharmacies, they're in Target, they're in so many stores. I think I saw them in like Old Navy this weekend. They're all over the place. So then they expanded their like production. They expanded how easy it was to get them. They expanded their audience as to where people can actually purchase from them. Awesome. Love that. And then they actually did the expanding of your product lines, because then they expanded from there. Once they got the proof of concept, once they got that people would buy them wholesale, or people would buy them in stores really well, they got kind of that mass market like knowledge of what it was, and the brand awareness of the product information, all of that was out there. Then they just expanded the product line, and now there's like full shelves of pimple patches for all different purposes at the store. There's a lot of different options there, but because they have so much market share, there's really only like one, or I guess there's two kind of major pimple patch brands, but they are absolutely kind of the first and major one. And now they have been able to like dominate in so many different areas, and now they've expanded in that sense. And so they're kind of at that mass market point. Like, they have gotten to that mass market approach. I bet they're doing millions and millions and millions monthly. I wonder what that brand is even evaluated at. I bet it is absolutely crazy. And they have grown incredibly fast because they mastered this. So for some of you, I would say, hey, let's experience wholesale. Hey, others, I would say, let's try to get in front of influencers. Let's try to do these different things, but it's going to change based on your data, based on your goals, based on your industry. How hard is it going to be for you to do different things? Some of you, it's going to be really hard to actually get into wholesale, just because the market is so incredibly saturated that a lot of these wholesale companies already have, a lot of Targets already have 100 different protein companies that are on the shelves. It might be hard for you to actually get onto the shelves selling another type of protein powder. So there's certain metrics that you need, certain data points that you even need to get to, certain like benchmark goals that we have to hit before some of these other pieces can actually happen. So if you're going for quickest results, some of the quickest ways that we can go, hey, I'm jumping in here for 30 quick seconds for those of you listening and thinking, all right, but how do I actually apply this to my business? Every week here, I share strategies, case studies, growth mistakes to avoid, but your business growth is nuanced. So your business support has to be nuanced as well. That's why all of my support includes me inside of your business, your ideas, your launches, your content, perfecting what you're already building and uncovering your hidden opportunities to scale. This isn't a cookie cutter course. It's a high level personalized support system to help you optimize your brand, your strategy, and every single person your business touches. If you want my eyes and my brain on your branding, your sales, your marketing, and your overall growth plan, click the link in the show notes to apply. Let's see what we can build together. Are more optimizing the eyes you have to convert better and improving your return customer rate. Those are kind of the quick cash influx areas that we can work on. We can work on getting people to buy from you more often, as well as we can work on getting people to actually convert better. Those are some tweaks and adjustments we can make on your website, in your emails, on your marketing, in so many different areas that actually get people to produce. But the things that make the biggest impact are going to be some of these other pieces, expanding your product lines and expanding your audience. Now, for this client client of mine. Like I said, I know her business, so I know a couple of things. Now, of course, I would need to look at her data to get a perfect option for you, Kate. But in the meantime, what I would recommend from what I know about your brand is that I would recommend for you to go expand your audience route. Why I say that is because I know your metrics, at least from when we worked together and when I've seen them last. I know your metrics, I know your audience, I know your community, and I know your niche. I know that all of those you're in a pretty niche little community that you could really, really do well with expanding that audience. Now, my question for you would be, how many people are actually in this niche, and do we feel like there's actually opportunity to expand your audience within there? But I would say to make the biggest impact for you is we want to do a major audience expansion. Now, that doesn't just mean go and make a bunch of organic reels on Instagram, because that isn't the most efficient way to actually expand your audience. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that. We can do wholesale, we can do, you could do ads, you could do influencer marketing, you could do collaborations. There's like dozens of different ways that we can do kind of this audience expansion, but it really depends on those other factors, and we would need to go from there. But I hope that this was helpful, like in general, for everybody to be able to hear the different avenues. Now, how do we know what to do for your brand, and how do we make decisions? This is why understanding data and numbers are so incredibly important, because the reason you don't know what decision to make is because you don't understand the data that you're looking at, or maybe you're just not even looking at it, and being able to analyze and tell you what it actually means for the strategy that you need to utilize. You need to be able to look at your data and say, okay, based on this, these are the different areas that we need to go. This is where we need to go all in order to really expand in this really, really big way. And so if you're struggling to you have all of these ideas, you don't know what to prioritize, your data is your best friend. But it's not enough just to look at your data. You have to be able to really understand it. And that is too deep for us to be able to get into today. This episode would be 4 hours long. But I am an absolute data nerd. And why is because it actually helps you make the best business decisions. It allows you to make an educated business decision away from emotion. It's not like, well, I feel like I just want to try to get into wholesale opportunities. Not every business is made for wholesale. That's not what we're trying to do. So that isn't just you end up losing a lot of time. You end up putting your energy into wrong areas if you don't actually know how to look at your data, look at your long-term vision, and create a strategy based on those two things of what really matters. It's data, it's your long-term vision, it's your industry, and we have to create a strategic action plan, a custom growth plan depending on that. This is why I always say business growth is so nuanced, because your vision, all of your industry, your data is all nuanced. I have clients both selling in the same industry. They're both selling whatever, clothing lines. And I'm looking at these two clothing lines, and they have completely different approaches because their audience is different, their data is different, their customers just adapted to their marketing in different ways. So some people are expanding in this way and some people are expanding this way. This is why blanket business advice is not always helpful, because your business is nuanced, which means your business growth plan has to be nuanced as well. Is there a science to it? Yes, but you have to take the scientific approach and actually look at the data, look at what's happening in order to know which direction to go within your business. Now, if this is something you would like me to help you do, I am so more than happy to do this. I love numbers. I've looked at hundreds of businesses' data, and I can absolutely do this for you. And I would love to help you, Kate. I know that we have meetings every once in a while in your business. Would love to help you create this action plan, or anybody listening being like, Maddie, I'm still lost. This is great, but you just gave me 100 more ideas. It is just nuanced. Otherwise, I would give you the direct answer if there is one. It's just nuanced depending on so many different factors of you, your business, your goals, your vision, your industry, all of those pieces. And so I would be doing you a disservice if I say, just try to go expand your audience. And I hope that the next time you hear somebody say, you just need to go get in front of 1 million more people, that you actually have to be a little careful with some of that advice. So I would love to support you with it. This is something that I do with all of my clients. I'm really deep into those numbers with you. I'm in Shopify, in the analytics of other people's businesses all day, every day, because it takes understanding the data and the numbers in order to actually really expand your business. And if you are not the data and the numbers person, I am happy to be that person to come in and provide you the action plan based on the data and numbers. You need to hire or have somebody in your business that fills those gaps, because at the point of business, especially if you're at the 10, 20, 30, 40, $10,000 a month, the data becomes that much more important because you are at the brink of big time, like mass growth. And you have to be able to understand your numbers, your finances, your analytics, your key performance indicators. Otherwise, you will be kind of left behind in some of that. So if you want that to be me, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to provide the support for you. It's one of my favorite things to do. But I hope that this was helpful for you, no matter what, just to provide some kind of direction there. And again, you first have to understand your marketing and your sales and your branding and all of that. And once you have that done, you're an established business, you're scaling. Now you can scale. You have consistent sales. Now we're scaling. These are the four major avenues of how we really go about scaling. I hope that this was helpful for you. I am so excited to help any of you any deeper into this. Feel free to reach out, but I love you. I'm rooting for you. I'm in your corner always. Make sure that you're subscribed to this podcast. We put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Only 30% of you are subscribed. That's crazy. Join that 30%, and you're coming here anyway. You might as well subscribe and follow. It helps me, it helps you, and it helps other people be able to get the podcast episode as well. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next episode. If you found today's episode helpful and are looking for more tangible ways to grow your business, make sure you are subscribed to the show. If you want to dive deeper into this topic more, click the link in the show notes and join our completely free podcast community where we dive into every single podcast topic, as well as give some bonus support and free coaching calls. And finally, if you are interested in getting my eyes on your business to find your hidden opportunities to scale, apply to work with me one-on-one in the show notes or on our website. Remember, it's not enough to listen. Don't forget to implement too. I love ya. I'll see you in the next episode.